Guru and his script. Now we will officially begin recording. We're giving this class on practically speaking, it's the eve of Gaur Purnima, and I'm sure you all have important things to do. Uh, Let me find my chapter here. Ah, all right. So we're reading. Actually, I think it's the last chapter in the book. It's called the line of Sri Rupa. So we're on page 141 if you're following in a printed edition. And I'm going to see if I can get my online edition going. This way I can look at the screen while I'm reading. But let's just start reading from the book. So this is chapter 14, the line of Sri Rupa. We're reading Sri Guru's Grace by His Divine Grace, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami. It says the impersonalist transcendentalists say that once we are independent of the flesh connection, the consciousness of the human soul is the highest thing, and that no finer, higher thing can exist. But the scriptures say that the supersoul, or Paramatma, is superior in existence to the individual soul, and that the Bhagavan conception, the personal conception of God, is even higher. So this is a very important point. This begins with the Vasudev conception, Krishna alone. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj first he points out, well, there are many generalized ideas about divinity, and these generalized ideas have been discovered by great thinkers and great seers of the truth. And generally speaking, they like the idea that the soul principle, or Atma, is superior to matter, and that when this fleshy vessel dissolves, we come to a higher understanding about spiritual nature, and that no higher thing can be conceived or thought of. And many different philosophers and religionists uh, like this idea as being the highest thing, but deeper thinkers have discovered the Paramatma principle that apart from the individual soul, there exists a higher soul, Chaitanas Chaitananam, uh, like that, uh, of many living conscious beings. There's a supreme uh, living conscious being. And this has been conceived of as Paramatma, uh, or God within. But beyond this conception, there's the idea of the personality of Godhead. And so uh, the Bhagavad Purana, the Srimad Bhagavatam, gives us this idea that there is a supreme personality of Godhead. And if we look at that principle and how it's been discovered and thought of, Srila Sridhar Maharaj points out, this begins with the Vasudeva conception, Krishna alone. The Narayan conception is again higher, and the Krishna conception is the highest. And even in the Krishna conception, there are divisions, Dwarka, Mathura, and Vrindavan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Srimad Bhagavatam assert that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. The Vrindavan conception of Krishna as the supreme entity is the highest because beauty is above all. Beauty is above all grandeur and power. Neither physical, mental, or intellectual power, nor any other power, but beauty and love is the ultimate controlling power. Absolute good is absolute beauty, and that is the absolute controller. Mercy is above justice. So this is a particular conception of divinity that has been discovered in the Bhagavatam and promoted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and especially by his followers, including Srila Rupa Goswami. Generally, we cannot conceive that anything could be greater than justice. We think that justice must be the highest principle. And again, this is found in many different religious ideas. In Karmakanda, Vedic idea, the law is the important thing. And also you'll find this in the Torah of the Jewish peoples who believe that God gave the law, and that's the important thing. The law is everything. Justice should be the highest principle. One of the problems with that is lawyers. As Shakespeare said once, he said, first we kill all the lawyers, right? Why? Because lawyers are involved in splitting hairs and showing the relativity of justice, showing how justice is rife with moral ambiguity. And it's very difficult to ferret out the true meaning of justice. And that's shown also in the Shakespeare play, The Merchant of Venice, where Shylock demands his pound of flesh, and the tables are turned on him. He has to plead for mercy. But we're told that mercy, Srila Sri Ramakrishna continues, is above justice. And this is a question for very deep reflection. And who can show mercy? Not an ordinary person, but only a king. One who can compensate for the lost injustice can give mercy. And the highest court is able to compensate everything. Such a realm exists. And there, the Lord is engaged in pastimes with his paraphernalia of equal quality. There is such a law, a provision, beyond the sense of justice in our puppy brain. Uddhava is recognized as the principal devotee of the Lord, and his statement about mercy is found in the Bhagavatam. Aho bhakiyam stanakala kutam jigangshaya payad apyas sadvi. So there's the word sadvi. Lebhegatim datriuchitam tatonyam kamva dayalum sharanam brajema. Uddhava says, where else should I surrender? How can I surrender to anyone more merciful than Krishna? When I find that the demoness, Putana, in the garb of maternal affection, went to kill Krishna, but instead received such a wonderful benediction that she was given a higher post as one of Krishna's mothers. My Lord is so kind, so benevolent. Where else should I surrender? So it's interesting that we all often hear about Jesus Christ and his merciful avatar and how he descended to save us from our sins. So Jesus Christ dispenses forgiveness. And even while he's being crucified on the cross, he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. But Jesus Christ does not go so far as to elevate them so they sit at the right-hand side of the Lord. And here, while Putana tries to kill Krishna, she's given a post as one of Krishna's mothers. So Uddhava is saying, who could be more benevolent than that? Where else should I surrender? Her poisoned breast was put into the mouth of the infant child Krishna, and she was blessed with such a high and affectionate post. So how can we measure his grace, his infinite mercy? His ways and mercy are beyond all expectations. And then again, this is Krishna, but we're on the eve of Gaur Purnim. We can reflect on the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he distributes the holy name of Krishna in such a way that even the most miserable, sinful souls uh, can achieve the highest simply by vibrating the holy name of Krishna. And Srila Sri Ramakrishna continues commenting on Uddhava's point. Rather than treating her with justice, we find just the opposite. He showed magnanimous behavior towards his greatest enemy. So, beyond justice, there is mercy. And he's also measuring different conceptions of divinity because, for example, in Abrahamic religions, this idea of justice is quite preeminent before the New Testament, anyways. Uh, and so the Old Testament ends with the words, uh, follow my law, lest I smite the earth with a curse. So this is the idea of proper behavior constituting dharma and divine punishment constituting justice. But here we find that beyond justice, there is mercy, Srila Sridhar said. And such a high degree of mercy, such a quality and intensity of mercy that it cannot be measured. Uddhava prays, where should I find such a standard of grace as this? I must fall flat at the divine feet of Lord Krishna. Why should any man of intelligence not run to fall flat at the feet of such a magnanimous personality as Krishna? His nature is that of the highest love. So Srila Sridhar gives us his divine upadesh, and he says, we, the finite, should approach the infinite with this spirit. If justice is applied, I have no hope. This is a very good point. It means uh, you can follow chapter and verse every indication in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and all the 64 different processes of devotion, and then go to the higher court and say, look, I followed these rules, therefore I deserve justice, let me in. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, if justice is applied, I have no hope. I omit that department. I have come only to seek my fortune in the department of mercy, where there is no calculation of right or wrong, of merit or demerit. I have come to that department, my Lord, because I do not know what is within me. When I analyze and study my own heart, I find that I am unknown to my own self. I am so helpless and wretched that I don't even know my own self. How then should I venture to appeal to a department where something will be granted only after a calculation of my merits and demerits? I don't want that. I don't want any decision based on justice. I surrender. You may do whatever you like with me. I'm the worst of sinners. What to do with me now is in your hands. You, Savior, I've come to you. If there is any possibility, save me. This is my open appeal, my one-sided appeal. So, this little section here is in quotation marks because Srila Sridhar is offering us a little meditation here as a prayer. Oftentimes I hear and read that in the Holy Bible, the really best prayers in the Holy Bible are the Psalms of David, and that one should read, study, and meditate on the Psalms. But every time I've looked at that, I see King David saying something like, Thank you, Lord, for you have killed my enemies, or um, call down your wrath upon my enemies, that sort of thing. And of course, these statements may be taken metaphorically. If you take it in the sense that my real enemies are my ego, my anger, fear, sin, and we should look at these sorts of prayers as meditations in that sense. But here Srila Sri Ramakrishna is offering us a very nice prayer. I'll read it again. He says, I surrender. You may do whatever you like with me. I'm the worst of sinners. What to do with me now is in your hands. You, Savior, I've come to you. If there is any possibility, save me. This is my open appeal, my one-sided appeal. Srila Sri Ramakrishna points out that this kind of prayer, this sort of self-abnegation, will automatically cleanse our hearts. By this attitude of sharanagati or surrender, we invite the greatest attention from above. Sharanagati, surrender, is the only way to be reinstated in our lost prospect. At present, we are disconnected from the prospect of divine love, which we cherish in the innermost quarter of our hearts. If we want to have that privilege very easily and very quickly, we must approach the Lord with plain speaking and with a naked body and mind, with everything exposed. Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu has written, Mat tulio nasti papadma naparadi chakashtana parihare pilajame kim bruve purushottama. My Lord, I feel ashamed. How shall I offer you so many pure things like flowers? Generally, pure things are offered to you. But what about me? I've come with the most filthy thing to offer you. I feel ashamed. I've come to you with only my shame to beg for your mercy. There's no parallel to my sinful criminal life. Everything that can be conceived of as bad is found in me. It is very difficult even to speak about the characteristics of my heinous sins and crimes. Still, your nature, existence, fame, and benevolence cannot but attract me. You can save me. You can purify me. Hoping against hope, I've come to you. And I have only one solace, that I am the real object of your mercy. Your tendency is to purify the meanest. Those who are the most needy have some claim to your mercy. I am the worst of the needy and the meanest of the mean. This is my only qualification, my only hope to attract your attention and appeal to your magnanimity. Rupa Goswami says that still there is some sort of subconscious element within him. Juvatinam jata juni, junam cha juvato yata. Mano bhiramate tadvan, mano bhiramatam twai. This is very poetic Sanskrit. Uh, he's using alliteration here. Yuvatinam yata juni, junam cha juvato jata. Just as a young boy feels attraction for a young girl, I want that sort of attraction towards you. I want to be engrossed in you, forgetting all material paraphernalia. And by sincere surrender, at once our progress begins. And the development of that kind of attraction takes us to the topmost rank. I want that intimate connection with you, my Lord. I'm the neediest of the needy. But at the same time, I have this ambition. I'm so disgusted with the world outside me that I want the most intense and comprehensive relationship with you. With this attitude, Srila Srinath says, the surrendering process begins and rises step by step. I want that standard of divine love, of intimacy with you. I want to dive deep within you. So we were saying different thinkers, uh, religious preceptors, adepts, monks, desert fathers have meditated long and hard, and dedicated their lives to trying to reveal a certain spiritual sense, and they conclude that it must be that the soul is the highest thing. Others who walk the path of bhakti look for this sort of divine connection, a connection of love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But of all these divine preceptors in different sampradayas, different schools of thought, uh, the great discoverer of the highest precept here is Rupa Goswami. So we would do well to try to understand his teachings and especially his Upadesh. And I just wanted to pause for a moment and consider uh, Rupa Goswami wrote this very short book called Upadeshamrita. And we've discussed the meaning of Amrita, immortality, or nectar, or the nectar of immortality, or nectarine deathlessness. There's all these different ways to look at Amrita. But Upadeshamrita, Upadesha means advice. And really, this is very intimate, personal advice. Last night, I was thinking, tomorrow I need to speak about Rupa Goswami. What can I say? Uh, his teachings are found in that book. What's the name of that book? And in English, it's given as Nectar of Instruction. So I mentally, as I'm falling asleep, I tried translating that back into Sanskrit. And I thought, what's the name of that book? Shikshamritam? No, that's not right. It's not Shiksha. There's Shikshastakam. But what? Then this morning it can't be. Oh yeah, Upadeshamritam. What's the difference between Upadesh and Shiksha? Well, Shiksha means something like education or an all-round understanding of something. Whereas Upadesh, it's more personal. It's like personal advice. So there's this short little book by Rupa Goswami called Upadeshamritam. And it starts from the very, very, very simple idea to the deepest understanding of uh, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Radha Dasyam, Radha Kund, and these things which are so high it's difficult to speak of. And I thought, well, if I'm going to say anything about Rupa Goswami, I can't be the person who tries to talk about rasa and being a rasic guru and things like that. I like this first verse of his book, Padeshamritam. And in the very first verse, he says here, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Kroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udura Pasta Vegam, Etan Vegan, Yo Vishaheta Dira, Sarvam Apimam Pritibim Sa Shishyat. So we hear about, oh, world gurus, Jagat gurus, Pritivimsa Shishyat, one who can make Shishya, disciples. He can give Shiksha to the whole world, Sarvam Apunam, Pritivim, the Pritivi, the entire planet. So what kind of a person is that? And that's in a way the subject matter of our entire book. Who can be guru? And this is the first principle of the Upadeshamritam. And the very first thing Rupa Goswami tells us is Vacho Vegam, Manasa Kroda Vegam. He says, you can be a great teacher. You can be a Goswami if you can control your speech. uh, Vacho Vegam, it means control the urge to speak. And This is very difficult. It's not such an easy thing. So before we try to imagine ourselves as gopis or manjaris or some great uh, servitors of Vaishnava, um, why not start with a simple plan, simple instruction, simple idea, control the speech? And what is meant by that? It means avoid Vaishnava aparad, especially, avoid guru aparad, avoid offending other people in general. Vacho vegam, manasa, krodha vegam, control the mind. Don't let your mind run wild. And Krodavega, that's the tough nut to crack. The urge to be angry. And nowadays it seems that being angry is highly prized, and to be indignant about everything and constantly complain about the injustices that have been visited upon me, my family, my religion, my social group, my race, my nationality, uh, and so on. National identity, sex, uh, to demonstrate indignity and anger has been raised to a virtue. But here, Srila Rupa Goswami is trying to tell you, look, anger is not a positive thing. In the purport to this book, Srila Prabhupada, he tries to say that, well, if you control your speech by speaking about Krishna, he says a toad in a field speaks by croaking. And similarly, everyone who has a tongue wants to speak, even if all he says is nonsense. The croaking of the toad, however, simply invites the snake, please come here and eat me. But he continues, he says, similarly, anger can be controlled. We cannot stop anger together, but if we simply become angry with those who blaspheme the Lord or the devotees of the Lord, we control our anger in Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became angry with the miscreant brothers Jagai and Madai, who blasphemed and struck Nityananda Prabhu. But, we can ask those who have tried to engage anger in the service of Krishna, how's that working out for you? Hmm? Becoming angry with, well, you devotees are not doing it the way you should, so I'm going to be angry with you. And I'm going to be angry with everyone in the Krishna consciousness movement because they're not up to my standard. Well, be careful with that. This is what Rupa Goswami is saying. Prabhupada, in his purport, he says, it was in anger that Hanuman set fire to Lanka. He utilized his anger in the right way. Arjuna serves as another example. That's all well and good, but are you Hanuman? I ask myself, because I'm an angry person. Am I Hanuman? Am I Arjuna? Am I capable of engaging anger in the service of Krishna? I don't think that's really such a positive thing. In my own personal opinion, I believe that anger is something that needs to be done away with if you're really going to make progress. And I think Rupa Goswami is trying to tell us that. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam. This is control your anger. Jiva vegam, udarapasta vegam. Control the tongue, the belly, the genitals. Try to control these different urges and become dhira. The word dhira, it's a nice word. It means sober, but so many other things. I served uh, the temple with dear Krishna Maharaj, later Bhakti Sudhira Goswami. So to become dhira, it means sober. It means saintly. Avoid these kinds of attitudes. Uh, once I was traveling to Russia, and in so doing, I had to pass so many different checkpoints and papers, please, and let's look inside your bag, and you're being delayed, and so on and so on. And at some point, I thought, I'm not going to become angry. I'm just going to, this is what it is. You have to do this. It's part of travel. You can't become indignant because of the size and shape of the chair that they give you on the airplane. So I thought, as an experiment, I'm going to see if I can go through one day without becoming angry. And I did it. I was really proud of myself. I kept it going for about 3 weeks until finally I just burst. But it's a good practice. See if you can go for a day without becoming angry. And a good way to avoid being angry is, is try to have compassion for other souls and see the person who is torturing me, they're also suffering in this material world. And if I can see that, then I won't become angry. Anyways, I think these are good ideas, and I'm trying to practice that. So it's very well and good to talk about Srimati Radharani, Lalita Saki, Rupa Manjari, all these very high and intimate things. They have their place. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj asked us to try to focus on uh, this Sharanagati concept, that I'm the neediest of the needy. I'm so disgusted that with myself that I feel that I'm the most fallen. But there's a certain logic in mercy that the most fallen should get the best mercy. So uh, I think I digressed. Appearing and disappearing scriptures. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj gives us another quote. He says, Govinda Vallabhe Radhe Prajnaye Tvamaham Sada Twaryam iti jana tu Govindo mam tvaya saha. I says, this verse is found in the Archan Padati, which comes from Gopal Bhatta Goswami's edition of the Hari Bhakti Vilas. From there, it has sprung through him. It's there in the Shastra, which is an eternal flow, a particular current of knowledge. Everything is eternal in Vaikuntha and Goloka, just as the sun comes up and goes down, appears and disappears. The thought is eternal and sometimes appears and disappears. In this verse, Govinda Vallabhe Radhe, there's a sudden turn. Krishna says to his devotee, Oh, do you want an intimate relationship with me? It is not to be found within my department. You will have to go to another department. Go then to the department of Radhika.
So
Then
basically, you've kind of said twice that surrender is kind of even above mercy itself.
well,
Hmm.
the idea is, surrender. If it's real surrender, it invokes mercy. You know, if you surrender thinking, if I surrender here, I'll get out of this situation. That may not be real surrender. Just some example given by Montaigne, and he talks about some king who went to Alexander the Great. Maybe it was Pura, I don't know, and surrendered. And the king was taken by the warriors' stance, and so he granted him mercy. So there's some kind of sympathetic relationship between surrender and mercy.
Hmm.
Right? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, but you kind of showed in two examples earlier on that it kind of supersedes mercy. Because once you surrender, you control mercy, or you can beckon. I don't know, like you said, the guy you surrender to the guy with the gun,
It has to
and
be
his boss
sincere.
comes and says, "Oh no, don't kill him," because whatever reason. So first you surrender, and then mercy comes to you. Or
Well, Vaishnavas are sometimes criticized for trying to exploit the Hegelian uh, dialectic of the servant and the master by saying, well, your whole program is to bring the master under control through surrender. See,
right.
that's a trick. And but that's the dishonest, cheap Vaishnava thing of getting in there and manipulating God by surrendering to him. But we're above that. We play by the rules, and so we like justice over mercy, you know. So yeah, we've been criticized for that, but
We serve the guru, but we're not encouraged to surrender to the guru. We render service to the guru, right, with humility. The whole beginning, you approach the guru with humility, and then you render service to him. But you don't surrender to the guru. But shouldn't we surrender? We surrender to Krishna, but like,
yeah, that's interesting, because there are different kinds of seva that you can do. You can
right,
do Guru
okay.
seva, you can do Shastra seva, you could do Vaishnava seva, you could do puja seva to the Murtis. Uh, it
So does
depends on the
seva mean
relationship of it.
surrender?
Like my students, when they're confronted with a difficult question, they always go, "It depends," you know. But yeah, there's according to your criterion.
What's
If
the Sanskrit word for surrender?
Well, we're looking at Sharanagati, but Prapana is also like Prapana Jivanamritam, right? So the idea of Prapana is explained in Prapana Jivanamritam, so many different examples, but it's not all Guru Bhakti, right? Srila Sridhar is pointing out, without a, a real connection, it will fade into imagination and fantasy. There should be a real connection. But the idea of absolute slavery to a particular man who represents God may not be exactly what we're going for. If you, I was thinking a lot about this, in the course of giving these talks, because if you look at, say, for example, what kind of guru in modern times, since Bhaktivinoda, right? What sort of guru seva did Bhaktivinoda Thakur offer to Jagannath Das Babaji? Well, Jagannath Das Babaji discovered the divine birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and authenticated that this particular Nim tree is the holy place of pilgrimage. Uh, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave jai to that and promoted that. But in terms of living in an ashram with Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, that didn't happen. He didn't fill his water cup every day. He wasn't, sweeping his sitting place on a daily basis. What about, what sort of service and Guru Bhakti did Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj offer Bhaktivinoda Thakur? There were some kind of friendly relationship there, as I understand it. And what sort of relationship did Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur have with Gorky Shore Das Babaji Maharaj? Was he there every day, all day, for his entire life, offering, service to the Vapu? Or was it more like the Vani? So then again, there's service to the person and there's service to his precept. And in this particular book, it seems to me that Srila Sridhar Maharaj is giving more emphasis to serving the message of the Guru. Um, if you look at Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhaktivedanta Swami, What sort of relationship did Srila Prabhupada have with Bhaktisiddhanta? You know, did he stay in the ashram? No, he didn't. He would attend the talk now and then. When he was in town, he would look up, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, how you doing? What's going on? If Bhaktisiddhanta told him, if you ever get any money, print some books. So what is Bhaktivedanta Swami's role there? He's serving the message. He wasn't really serving the person of uh, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He certainly didn't do that in any slavish kind of a way, where every time the Guru gave an order, you must follow this order, bring me money. It wasn't that sort of relationship at all, I don't think. You know, what about Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Bhakti? And I'm mentioning these, historical ideas because I'm trying to sort of zero in on, well, what's my role? What role do we play? You know? So what was the relationship between Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Well, it's a much closer relationship. He he spent time in the mat. He served with different sannyasis. But in the end, the last sort of 50 years of his life, he's living independently on the banks of the Ganges, and his attitude seems to be if someone comes to him for instruction, he'll give them instruction. But most of the people that I met or served under or, related to at the Mott, people like Dol Govinda, he would show up on Sundays and play the mridanga, and he was a great mridanga player, you know, or Madhu Mangal, he was blind and he would cut the vegetables. But there was not, this sort of slavish idea that whatever the guru says or does on a particular moment, then you must follow that for the rest of your life, which sort of kind of descends into fanaticism, maybe. But on the other hand, if you are part of an ashram, you're there taking shelter, which is another meaning of sharana, ashram and sharana, they're sort of related ideas. Gati is the path, so the path of taking refuge. If you take refuge in an ashram, you're expected to participate in the daily life of the ashram and, follow the practices that they're doing there. But that does not necessarily mean that whatever the, regulatory principles that are going on in a particular ashram need to govern absolutely all your behavior for the rest of your life, you know? So,
Mm.
so what, surrender, your point is, so are we surrendering to the mission? Are we surrendering to the guru? Or are we surrendering to Krishna directly? Um, the word Upadesh is interesting because it means sort of an intimate advice that a higher Vaishnava might give you, or teacher. Upadesh means, I'm looking at you and I'm seeing what can you do and what would be the best, you know, advice that I could give you now at this point in your development and this point in my spiritual capacity to advise you. That's Upadesh. Shiksha is a little bit different. Shiksha means read the Bhagavad, you know, go through the Bhagavad Gita, study the ideas there, try to penetrate the concept of Atma or Paramatma, and read this book. That's more like shiksha, education. But Upadesh is more intimate. And so this Upadesh from Rupa Goswami, control your anger. Wow. That's that's worth volumes, If I give you a recipe for how to make rasguls and offer them to the deities, that's beautiful, I love rasguls. The deities are, you know, a wonder. God himself descended on earth to, deliver me through their image and my service to that. But um, is it more profitable for my soul to uh, make perfect sweet rice or learn to control my anger, And controlling anger, wow, it's a big one. It's very, very difficult. Not a day goes by that I don't go, you know.
Mhm.
But these are basic, like animal emotions, you know. And if we're to become spiritually enlightened beings, why not start working on those animal emotions, you know? Or how everybody loves, you know, to be Jesus Christ when Jesus Christ is turning over the tables and chastising the moneylenders with a whip. That's the great, you know, aspect of Jesus's life that everybody likes to copy, you know, and
Yeah,
preach.
turning the cheeks a bit harder, isn't it?
Yeah, preach hell hot and sin black. You know, that's great. But to get up on the cross and be nailed up there and say, well, you know, I'm forgiving everybody. Ooh, that's a little more difficult. That smells a little bit more like Sharanagati, you know, and that's a tough nut to crack. So, which Christ do we like? The angry Christ or the blessed be the poor Christ? I like the blessed be the poor, blessed be the humble, blessed be the meek. That's my favorite Christ, you know. But uh, again, Pranashish taught me something very valuable. You know, he said, it's all right, Mahayogi, speak your mind. Uh, don't be so worried about what other people will say. You have your path. And that's true. I do have, you know, I have my own path. I can't imitate Bhaktivinoda. I can't imitate Gorky Shordas Babaji, you know. Everybody in ISKCON imitated Prabhupada, you know. They dressed like him. They talked like him. You know, they walked like him. Did they become Bhaktivedanta Swami? They were kind of missing, not all, but I mean, there are great devotees, you know, Jayananda, for example. But they were missing that sweet Bengali heart because when Prabhupada was angry or chastising somebody, um, he always did it from a place of love, you know? Whereas we Americans and Westerners coming out of an Abrahamic tradition of justice and law and lest I smite the earth with a curse, we have a little bit more tendency to, you know, salt and pepper our uh, Upadesh with anger. And so I don't know. I think that's a good message. So I'm sticking by it. Oh, we are. So at this point in time, I thought I was going to be able to get through the entire chapter and close the book and say, thank you very much and goodbye. But it looks like we'll have to do another talk uh, next week. And I want to thank Pranashish for bringing out the best in me, Suvashini Meenakshi Sundaram for providing the platform and making sure we're all in attendance. Hari Priya for her dedication. Sadhvi Didi, thank you for joining us today. It's good to see you again. And Adwai Krishna, my man, up there in Cooley, in the farthest northern regions of northern north. What? He's going, mm-mm.
He's
Where
probably
are you, Adwai? Hello? Are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm still in Italy, Maharaj. Puoi spegnere? I'm still in Italy.
Okay. So we say
Yeah,
arrivederci, bro. Yeah.
arrivederci.
Arrivederci. Oh, yes. And Tungarasa Dasi, I can't remember if it's South Africa or Norway. I always get that confused. And decimos hola, buenos dias, ¿qué tal? Gusto en verte, Teresa Lorette Mola, aquí en bonito Mexico. And Merida Yucatan, thank you for joining us this morning. It's good to see you. Hi. All right, everybody, that's going to be it for today. I don't know. Let's meditate on Sharanagati and overcoming anger and see what happens. See if Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will shower a little mercy on us for Gaur Purnim. Gaura Haribol, Gaura Haribol, Gaura
Mahayogi Prabhu ki jai. Thank you, Mahayogi Prabhu. Dandavad.
Haribol. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai, 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 Nitai.
Dandavad. Hare Krishna. Krishna. Thank you.
What time suits you on Tuesday, Subhasini Didi?
6.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Anytime is fine.
Okay. All right.
Okay.